Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Friend or Foe Lounge. My name is Chris Sunga. I'm standing in for Sherigan in the Grand Finals while he's away in Europe. It's a happy day. Luna Grand Finals, HBK versus Universal Basic Incomes. Last day of Season 4. Well, and then there's Super Finals, but whatever. And then we have off season that we're done for a couple months, and then we're going to have Friend or Foe withdrawal, and I'm probably going to smoke even more than I already do. So tonight I have Raptera, Luna Tio. I have Theracles, our head Tio, and we have Anti, our grand finalist loser over in the Helios League, talking to us tonight about Luna Grand Finals. So we'll just recap real fast. UB had an interesting scenario. They had probably without being too mean, the freest path to Grand Finals. They had the first seed bye, so they skip quarters, and then Koff gets disqualified, and then we have TAS moving up. And UB's immediately like, we pick TAS, hand me TAS. 3-0 TAS, they make it to Grand Finals. Meanwhile, on the other side, HBK, second seed, so they make it to still have a bye. And they played against BBZ, clean 3-0. A little sad for my former team, but whatever. And HBK makes it to Grand Finals. So lads, overall thoughts on their season before we talk about the nitty gritty.
UB's, I'll start it off. I think UB's season... It was pretty good. I don't think it was quite as dominant, and I think a big part of that, is JeffGod getting injured. That was a really big downer on them. Not that their subs were bad. It's just there's a little bit lacking synergy. But as we saw in the playoffs against TAS, they picked right back up where they were, and they're looking good. And HBK has had a quietly phenomenal season. Like, I didn't even really realize it till I started looking into it at the end of this season, but they're on a pretty long win streak. They haven't lost since, let's see, when was their last loss? Their last loss was to BBZ in day 1 of week 3 was their last loss. Like, they have literally torn it up since then and beat every other team in the league. So it's actually crazy the season that they have had and just how good that they have looked.
Thanks.
True. I'll just go ahead and start off the same way I did last time. And again, you ignored feedback and give me an egregious task of summarizing the entire season.
Sorry, my bad.
It's okay, bad. I forgive you because I have to. But anyway, UB, I kind of agree. They didn't look as strong as they did in Season 3. But definitely, I would say it's definitely an amount of stronger competition. Definitely... HBK coming down from the Mythic League is showing to be quite strong. I definitely think it has to do, with being having to contest against Diamond and Master Tier players in lane. Yeah. So I mean that can't be for nothing. So I think that's their laning is solid. Pretty much, that's got to be a rough situation. But overall, I mean, I think that their lane dominance is their strength. As opposed to, I think their team fighting and overall map movements aren't as good. And I think we've seen both of those scenarios happen in the regular season, where the first game where it was very much more around the map, UB, and then I think in the second game UB tried to just outlane them, and it didn't work. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, coming from last season, I was in Mythic League along with HBK, and HBK is doing about what I anticipated, which is they did the same thing as last season, where they start off the league seeming not too particularly strong, having a lot of kinks to work out, and as the season goes onwards, they become a stronger and stronger team exponentially, to the point where at the beginning of last season we had some really close games with HBK, and then at the end of the season it was HBK getting much larger and stronger leads and becoming a much stronger team overall. And UB, as we all know, they have very good synergy, they play together very well. But at the same time, JeffGod having the stint where you can't play because you're injured. I know a few things about that myself, but it's definitely rough getting back into the swing of things. But UB definitely did look strong coming back into that 3-0 against TAS, if I remember correctly. And more time spent back derusting is going to make things even more of a task for HBK to play against in the grand finals. And one thing that we've seen is, we saw Utility Monster sub in for Rex against INT and absolutely demolish them with a very clean 3-0, maybe the strongest we've seen Utility Monster play yet. So we know that UB's as a whole is still very strong.
Yeah, completely agree with you guys. Let's start talking about these players individually. We can talk about these matchups individually one by one. Let's talk about the top lane first. Freelancer versus Jida. I feel like these are the two players on these teams that when we talk about these teams, or when anyone talks about these teams, I feel like these are the two players that kind of get overshadowed the most. Like Freelancer's getting overshadowed by JeffGod, Brian Tsang. Jida's getting overshadowed by Spierce, ProLupul, whoever. So yeah, thoughts on the top lane matchup. Let's start with Anti, since he's our resident top laner here. So.
Honestly, even though I played against H-Block last year, I don't think I played against Jida because I think there were sub discrepancies. But my biggest concern with Jida is the champion pool, because Renekton's a good champion. He's okay. I think that Renekton honestly leaves a lot wanting. And that being one of Jida's strongest champions is kind of concerning because, Freelancer has things like the Kennen, the Wukong, a bunch of other things that will do fine into Renekton. And Freelancer last season, we had a lot of questions where, can you play something other than Wukong? And then this season, we don't really see the Wukong very much at all. So it feels like, Jida, you see the Renekton, you see the Gragas, and you see a few picks coming out here and there. There's a question as to if you can't get that early lane priority as Jida, what else do you provide to the team? Because Freelancer is very much just picking team-focused picks, and Jida's very much a lane-focused player, from what I can gather. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That looks about right. Sorry, Ryan, did you want to say something?
Yeah, you can go for it.
All right. So, looking at Jida's champion pool, Jida has only played 5 unique champions this entire season. One of them only came in playoffs. He's played it once. It was Gragas. One of the other ones also has only been played once. It was Malphite, and it was one of their losses. It was their first loss against UB.
Oh, true.
Outside of that, he's played 3 champions more than one time. Camille, Renekton, and Heimerdinger. So I would agree with that. He's very much playing for lane. He's trying to dominate his lane, trying to just win straight through that and just kind of put pressure there at all times to keep his opponent. I don't think the Renekton, though, is his strongest suit. I think it's actually the Heimerdinger. His Heimerdinger stats are actually absurd. He's only had in 3 games 3 deaths.
Yeah.
He's got 18 kills and over 30 assists. It is actually really good on that, and I would expect we might see more of that heading into this series. And it's something that most people don't prepare for as a Heimerdinger. It's not.
If I'm going to be completely honest here, there's a few things about Heimerdinger. One, I think Heimerdinger in lane is actually pretty god-awful. There's a few champions that can completely shaft him. So let's say you blind pick Heimerdinger and their top lane picks Irelia, their mid lane picks Syndra, and their bot lane picks, I don't know, Ziggs or something crazy like that. Literally, what does a Heimer do? But HBK use Heimerdinger in multiple lanes, so it's a strong enough pick that I honestly think is just going to get banned away. But, Jida's playstyle versus Freelancer's playstyle feels a little bit reminiscent of me versus Joshi, where, I play a lot more for lane and then transition into team fighting. Meanwhile, Joshi will kind of sack lane and then just pick something that's more geared towards team fighting as their strong suit. So once again, we're going to see a very interesting top lane matchup. And if Jida doesn't get those leads, it can spell pretty big problems for HBK.
Yeah, I agree with that. I hope they learn about the Heimerdinger, though, because that's what they got smacked on by last time when UB played him.
Yeah.
I think I remember UB talking about Heimer last time they were on the lounge. So it's definitely in their sights.
That's good.
Thank God.
All right, you guys took the big points I was going to talk about. So yeah, just to skip. Yep, Heimerdinger, unique champions, blah blah blah. More lane dominant Freelancer, team fighty. Yes, but one thing I can say from being a bit behind the scenes and doing the interviews is I think Jida is going to be coming into this series with a little bit different energy. When I talked to him, he seemed kind of like he had something to prove. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw something different. And if and when I say different, I don't mean like he's going to be a team fight. I think he's going to just be double up on the aggressive. I think that's the avenue he wants. So that's something I would expect to come from HBK.
Pick Gwen.
Okay,
she's really good.
But yeah, I mean, I think, and the way Chris kind of introduced the topic, I think both of these players are a little bit overshadowed. And talking to both of them, I think they both sounded like they had something to prove. And I just want to say that although he doesn't say it in the Discord channels, Freelancer has got some trash talk. That was one of my favorite interviews so far. Good Lord.
Oh boy, I can't wait to hear it. Okay. Cool. Any final points on Freelancer versus Jida?
I'm hoping to see one of them pick up Graves. After having watched Worlds and some other tournaments, I at this point think Graves is the strongest top laner right now, and I haven't seen anybody really go at it. So I want to see one of them take it.
I don't think Graves is that good.
Okay.
The thing about Graves is that he's a very strong weak side top laner, but I don't think either of these teams usually play heavily strong side bot. The thing about Graves is that like he's a good laner and he can hold his own and it's hard to shut him down. But Graves as a champion alone doesn't do enough at the lower levels, I don't think. I feel like usually you want something that's a team fight defining ultimate, like, Gwen's Hallowed Mist being broken or Kennen slicing Maelstrom. So something silly like that. Meanwhile, Graves, he's damage. He does a lot of it, but he just kind of has to be there. And a lot of teams aren't strong enough to really make use of that strength just yet.
I think that's fair. I actually think I could see, of the two of them, I think I could see Jida pick it up just because it does seem like something that you play more for lane with.
Oh, totally. If one of them's going to play it, it's got to be Jida.
Yeah, I would expect seeing that.
Zero chance in my mind that Freelancer picks up Graves. I don't think that it fits them.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I agree with that.
HBK watches, it's like, well, there goes that plan.
Shit. They're on to us.
All of UB just insta-ban Graves in the first draft. Like, whoa, where did this come from? Okay, let's go to the jungle. Utility Monster versus Idrees. Idrees? I don't know.
Idrees.
I've known this team for like almost 2 years now. I feel like I should know their names at this point, or how to say their names.
I mean, HBK is tricky enough.
Where's the pronunciation sheet say?
I think it says Idrees.
One of us should have checked.
Idrees.
I'm sure he'll.
I got it.
It says Idrees.
I got it.
Idrees. Okay. All right.
Yeah. EEDRE.
I'll get an angry DM from him later.
Yes, Idrees.
Cool. Yeah, let's talk about this jungle matchup. Utility Monster, obviously captain of Universal Basic Income, probably the biggest player in Friend or Foe at the moment, in my personal opinion, in both strength and power, plus I would say popularity as well. Everyone knows him. Very handsome man. And then on the other side, we have Idrees, who's also on the side of HBK, has been amazing in the jungle, in my opinion. So thoughts on this matchup? Utility Monster versus Idrees.
Let's start this out.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, I'll go for it. So,
yeah,
like last time, I like to talk about champion diversity because I think champion pool is a really good place to look at champions players for, especially in the jungle. Just because, like, if you're only on one or two champions, it's really easy to get banned out in the jungler. But both these guys play a lot of champions. Utility Monsters played 8 different junglers this season. Idrees has played 7. Yeah. Granted, some of them have been one-offs, but they've done very well on it across the board. Like, their styles are kind of, at least to me, they're similar. They're playing a lot of gank-heavy junglers, a lot of Jarvan, a lot of Kha'Zix, a lot of Nocturne, Jin Zhao. You're seeing a lot, especially from Utility Monster, you're seeing a lot of Kha'Zix. Like, he plays a lot of that. So I'm expecting to see more of that. I'm expecting them to be fighting over those champions, especially Jarvan and Kha'Zix. Expecting to see them put a lot more pressure into ganking. Like we said, they don't really play like weak side at any point, but they will be trying to look for a lead, especially in the bot lane. I think they're going to be looking for a lead really heavily, especially Yubi, considering how strong JeffGod and Brian are when they get ahead. So I would expect Utility Monster to be finding something for that in particular, and for Idrees something to counter that out.
Okay, let's see. My thoughts here. Pretty much similar thoughts. They like to have early impacts. I think their biggest overlap was probably the Jarvan Nocturne, but I don't think that they're in particularly as good spots as they were during the regular season. So I think that'll be more interesting to see the direction that they change, if they decide to just stick to that, or if they've adopted a new plan. So kind of what I'm interested to see. And then just kind of on the flip side, I haven't seen too much of the gameplay, just because my coach was usually flaming me during the regular season after my match. So that's fine. But,
Been there.
but I mean, I think the last match, with UB and HBK was very, very hectic for UB. I think their biggest amount of deaths in a game, by far a surprising score to have seen after the math. So I don't think it's necessarily just because Jeff was there. I mean, definitely having a voice for some redirection can help. But I think, when UB is so used to crushing a lane and it doesn't happen, there's a hiccup in their thought. And I don't know if it was just maybe utility was tilted, and if those are the two voices that weren't there, it spiraled. But yeah, it was just very, very crazy to see that dynamic play out. But then again, in the best of 5 series, I'm not sure. I mean, we've definitely seen HBK be in the Mythic series show that, but I think in their series last season, it wasn't a particularly strong mental showing. So I think that'll be their biggest obstacle to overcome, and especially with losing their top players for having to drop to the lower league. I think that's going to be another interesting dynamic to see if maybe the ego is the thing and that was it, and if dropping it's going to get better, or if it's the opposite effect where now we've actually lost any direction we had. So I think that is also going to be a big part of the early game, and I think that plays down to the jungle role. So,
it's very anti.
Well, I mean, I think that as far as jungle goes, and we saw a lot of Jarvan, we saw a lot of Shenzhou. Those 2 picks at the beginning of this FoF season were honestly meta-defining picks. Like, those were like, hey, if you give these up, like, you're literally trolling. So, both of these junglers are very capable of picking up what's meta and showing off, hey, we can still play this stuff. Idrees still playing the Jarvan, still doing good work on it, and still a very strong pick even despite all the nerfs to them. But one of the things, we've seen Utility Monster pick up a lot of different champions. Still has the Morgana on deck. We saw it in the Rex series against INT once again. And I feel like from what I've seen, right, I haven't seen too much. Idrees has a lot of very opportunistic ganks and is very, very good at finding those. Utility Monster seems to have more proactivity to those ganks, though. They're less of being in the right spot in the right time and more of making the spot they're standing in the right spot and the right time, right? Like, there's a difference between a jungler who says, hey, I'm pathing in this direction, I'm going to be there in 1 minute, and your laner setting up for it, and a jungler who says, hey, I think their jungler is going to be here in like a minute, so I'm just gonna like try to counter gank, right? And I think Utility Monster is a very, very strong proactive jungler, and we've seen what they can do when they've got a lead. And Idrees stylistically seems to be more along the lines of something that's opportunistic, which can lend yourself to being a very strong counter ganking jungler. So we're definitely gonna have a very interesting matchup in the jungle. I just don't quite know how much it's going to matter depending on how carry heavy these junglers are planning on playing, because both of them have showcased very vastly different play styles.
Yeah, facts. I agree
and
with that.
I mean, one of the other things is just considering HBK and how they like to just swap players into different roles, which makes it incredibly hard to draft against them. Right. Idrees might not even be jungling. We saw the Kindred in the jungle from Aquatic, I believe, the other day in semis.
Yeah, that is a big factor. Yeah, just the fact that they do role swap a lot, which give or take, up for you to debate whether that's helpful or detrimental to them or not, or to other opposing teams. But
I mean, as far as drafting goes, it's annoying.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. Sorry, were you trying to say something?
No, we're chilling.
Oh, my bad. I thought I interrupted you. My God, my bad. All right. Then let's go to you then next and talk about mid lane. Yeah, sorry. No, let's talk about mid lane. You played both of these mid laners, Sivolock versus Spierce. Now Spierce, obviously, big MVP player on that side of HBK. But the big thing that I wanted to point out about Spierce though is that HBK has their 3 losses. One of those losses being a forfeit, so really only 2 losses. And one of those losses he wasn't even a part of. So thoughts on Spierce versus Sivolock?
Right. So yeah, having played both of them, I can tell you that the person that I'm personally never wanting to have to go against again, Spierce. Dude is ruthless. But I think that is a good thing in this match series, actually, because I think Sivolock just says, well, I don't want to play with you anyway, and I mean, they're just gonna shove lane and make you deal with this problem, or I'm just not gonna die. So I think that kind of works out, and it's gonna make Spierce work twice as hard. So if I was kind of in that spot, I would maybe look for something that I can maybe make a little bit more like Roam's Town bot lane, or I'd actually probably even see top or jungle invade, just because I feel like on the other side, ProLupul likes to leave lane a lot, so I think those two can get a lot done together. But yeah, overall, they're both very, very strong in different respects, and I think it goes down to one of those arguments again. Like if someone was like, "All right, I'm going to put you in charge of TSM, and these are your 2 picks to draft because you're the team manager," it kind of be whatever the team dynamic you think it needs. So they're, I don't. Terrifying. I don't want to really go against these guys again, but definitely, I just give the slight edge to Spierce.
Yeah. I feel you. Yeah, Sivolock is when I played against him, I wasn't mid, but he was like an iron tower. That man never loses lane ever. For whatever reason. He'll never beat you. He'll never destroy you or anything, but it's so annoying. Anyway.
He plays he reminds me kind of Niski almost, because he plays a very team-orientated style. You can see it in his champion pool. He mostly plays either mages or champions that have good team fight potential in some capacity. Plays a lot of Lissandra, plays a lot of Galio, and you'll see him also things like Victor and Quirky, things that he can just kind of roam around the map and get things done with. Victor a bit more lane-orientated, but still, he is very focused on getting his team ahead, whereas Spierce plays a lot of assassins. He loves his Zed. He is insane on LeBlanc. He has played LeBlanc, I want to say it's been most of his games.
Too many times.
Yeah, he's
6 times already on LeBlanc.
Out of 14 games. 6 games.
Yeah, it's crazy good. It's very, very good, and he's very much looking to just get the kills and get ahead himself. So I think that opposing style could be a big factor in this series. It's can Sivolock get out of lane, get his team ahead, or is Spierce is going to start picking on him and then start getting out there himself and just picking up kills everywhere? Because if he gets ahead like he did in that Nico game against BBZ the other day, it's going to be brutal.
I mean, all I can really say for this matchup is, he who, hey, don't ban Galio and it's all okay. I think Sivolock stylistically is actually the perfect player to neutralize Spierce, because that's pretty much what they tend to focus on, right? They play neutralizing picks. If their opponent really wants to get that lead, they're very, very good and practiced at denying those leads, right? Spierce loves to snowball their laning phase, and Sivolock is, like we said, he's like this iron tower who it's so hard to get past that. And when it comes to players who tend to try to look for snowballing, if you don't get that lead, it's very common to see those players get antsy and start making mistakes trying to get that lead that they're so used to having. And Sivolock, we already said, he plays the Lissandra, plays the Galio, 2 very, very strong champions at neutralizing Zed and LeBlanc both, just straight up in the champion select. And, if you ban those 2, you still have the Corki to deal with. Sure, it makes sure that assassins are going to have a fun time, but Sivolock still has other things under the hood and I would have to give the stylistic edge to Sivolock here.
All right, we're
I
tied.
probably agree with him. Yeah. I mean, I'll already break the tie. I Sivolock. I'm a Sivolock stan, dude.
All right, Raptor, am I alone here?
What? Oh, I'm going for Spierce on this.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
That's fair.
that's right. TO power. So
I've watched too many scary LeBlancs in the last couple of weeks to just dismiss a LeBlanc. I've seen them get ahead.
I don't know, man. I've been hit by too many Lissandra W's as LeBlanc to not want to play
That's
that matchup.
I mean, you've got
Yeah,
the Lissandra
that's
Master
my
right
last
here,
game.
Therafreeze.
Oh, yeah.
Arrow free.
bro.
Talk off.
Yeah. During that play that you're talking about, that match was literally me just going, guys, please don't make me do this. Like I said, teleport. So
I love that.
I was crying.
That's great. Well, not the crying, but this is
That crying's pretty good too. I love that. I eat that stuff.
Jeez.
Thunder family production.
All right.
Yeah, let's move on. Okay, let's talk about the bot lane. Raps, I'll go to you next. So like we've said, we don't know who they're potentially fielding. Last I spoke to ProLupul, it's most likely Aquarius Bottle that's playing on Monday. But he says like anything can happen. So JeffGodGamer versus potentially Aquarius Bottle / FlorahL / Tokyo Tree / Sword Blue / Burst Limit / everyone in Mythic. Yeah. So thoughts on this bot lane matchup?
So if it's Aquarius Bottle, I have absolutely no idea. He's only played 2 AD carries. He's played Caitlyn and he's played Kai'Sa. And that's really hard to really judge him off of because they're very different and because it's a very small sample size. But he looked very good on them in playing into Red and Tef in the bot lane. Granted, Tef fed a little bit, but beyond that, I think it's interesting. Same with Tokyo Tree. Like I think he only have 4 games on him. It's a very small sample size still, but he plays a lot more. I'm just trying to think of the word. He likes to be a little bit more pokey. He does play a lot of Ezreal. Does play a lot of Samira. But I guess it really just depends on who we get. But on the side with JeffGod, either way, whoever HBK picks, JeffGod is going to be such a menace to deal with. Like, there's a reason that in my rankings, I had, if UB didn't have JeffGod, I thought they were going to lose this series. But with him, I think it gets very close and either team can take it because JeffGod is such a big factor for this team. He carries when he needs to. He can play back when he needs to. He can kind of just do everything. He is like an amazing AD carry.
A multi-purpose tool of AD carries.
Yeah. He's a Swiss Army knife of AD carries. He's Swiss Army Jeff. There we go.
Oh, Lord.
Jeff Knife Gamer.
Jeff Knife Gamer.
Yeah, Anti. Thoughts on the bot lane?
I'll be real with you. And
Yeah.
I hope none of this comes off as like, overly rude or flame or anything. If it's aquatic in the bot lane, right, that's like what, aquatic
Aquarius.
Model.
Aquarius bot. From the performances I've seen so far, I'm not particularly impressed. Like, they can equalize. Sometimes, if you saw against BBZ, right, they picked Caitlyn, and it was Caitlyn Varus, and they were actually getting completely like out lanes, like straight up in that bot lane. What was a saving grace was, their teammates were ahead, so the team just came down and kind of started slamming that. But the thing is, like, we've seen so little from them, right? And what I have seen isn't this, we're just going to be winning lanes straight up on our own. Like, I haven't seen anything that's like a standout performance from them, which is totally fine, right? We haven't seen many games from them. They're still meshing with the team. They're still learning. But if we do see that kind of stuff, if you put it against a bot lane that has been playing with each other for basically, 2 seasons straight, right? Instead of something like Red and Tef, Red literally swapping back to bot lane just for playoffs, Tef not playing support until playoffs. I think that JeffGod and Brian Tsang are a completely different beast to play against. And Jeff is very, very strong. If you look to equalize that lane, sure, Jeff can play that just fine. He's more than happy to just farm up. But if they look to just crush the laning phase, you saw Jeff on Draven. Like, man can absolutely destroy a team.
Yeah, man's less right.
Man's got hands. I was kidding. So yeah, I think so. I guess to touch on the HBK AD carries again, to reiterate the whole not knowing too much about Aquarius yet. I would say that their best bet would probably be through FlorahL still.
Yeah.
I think he's had the most time with the team, considering he was also a sub in season 3.
Yeah, totally.
You know, he played the regular season a good amount, and you know, I believe he played in the losers lower half of the finals.
Yeah.
You know, whatever that format was called. You know, but I think that was against
losers bracket. Yeah.
Yeah, losers bracket.
They played Ace.
Did they?
They played Ace.
Okay, so then they were going against a pretty sick bot lane then, and I don't feel like it was their bot lane that really lost them that match either. So, respectfully, I think that
FlorahL was the AD carry who came along at like the end of last season for HBlock, right?
I can't.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
what
think
happened
he
to
did.
all these people?
Well, like because
sure
if he was, I distinctly remember FlorahL being a vastly huge upgrade from their previous AD carry.
Yeah.
Oh, sure, yeah.
FlorahL's solid. FlorahL's really good.
Yeah, and his champion pool is
because it was Idrees, so.
That's fair. I think it'd be a good champion pool for him too right now, because Aphelios is looking pretty good. At least to me, he is looking pretty good right now. And I mean, the first game we saw in FlorahL this season was a 17-0-6 game on Aphelios. So bringing him back and putting him on that would be pretty nice to see. But yeah, I agree. I think that would be their best bet. I mean, granted, it's been half the season since we've seen him play for the team, but I think, like you said, he has the most synergy with them. He's known them the longest. I also think, you know, being away half the season means he also can hide a couple more picks. So
yeah.
I would like to see him come out for this.
Yeah,
I think it'll be closer.
One other thing I just kind of wanted to mention is that, you know, the meta picks are definitely something to look at, right? You know, you got the Misfortune and the Amumu, which, you know, we already know that Yubi is more than happy to pick Amumu. And Misfortune, one of the easier champions to pick up. I think Jeff, even with a broken clavicle, should be kind of fine on that one. But we've seen Spierce taking Lucian into the bot lane, you know, actually perform very, very well on that. And, you know, Lucian Nami, an incredibly strong pick together. And if FlorahL does come back, you know, Apheli Lulu is one of the quintessential picks into Misfortune Amumu in pro play right now, even after the nerfs.
Horrible flashbacks to previous seasons of Lulu. Not looking forward to seeing that.
I mean, we picked it ourselves in grants, and it's a strong pick.
Yeah,
it's a strong pick.
It is. I'm not going to go into the history, but Lulu used to be a terror in League of Legends. So
I used to play her top.
No, bad. No.
I also used to play Nidalee top. So okay. I mean, to be fair,
I have this horrible like Nam flashbacks of Lulu, but I agree. I don't know if we'll see the Amu. So what I was told, I don't know if this is.
I think we're seeing it.
I'm not sure if they were joking or not, but UB seemed pretty insistent that whatever they played in semis, they were not going to play in finals. That was their goal against TAS. So we might not see any of that stuff. I hope we do. I think Misfortune and Amumu would be great to watch again. It's so good a combo, but it's Yubi, and for all we know, they're going to bring out Ivern's support with a Yasuo AD carry and somehow pull it off.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Anyway, I'm gonna go back to my point because I feel like sorry.
You're good.
I'll find out. So yes. Anyway, second best AD carry I would throw up next would probably be Idrees, since he's the one that they fielded their last victory against them with. At Vayne, I think it was 12-2 or something like that. Very, very vicious. So I would take that. And then my whole point then being Aquarius bottle is this giant question mark, and I think Anti brought some good points. So I think that would be the less optimal choice so far, but again, you know, schedules can conflict. I think it's going to come down to I think if ProLupul is going to roam or not, because I feel like he can get away with that against a lot of people, but against Brian and Jeff, I think that can be punished very hard. So I think they're going to have to be very careful if that's the playstyle they want to do, and, you know, be very conscious and not, you know, Just kind of play how you feel. You gotta be deliberate, because otherwise it is going to be taken advantage of. So, and hopefully they get to play Yuumi. So,
What about their fourth AD carry?
if it's that far down the list, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, because they had Hyatt. Hyatt did play 2 games at AD carry. Granted, they were not AD carries. He played Syndra and Yasuo, and when it combined with 23, 2, and 18 in the bot lane. So I don't know on that one, but like there's 4 people we've got to choose from. I don't think it's going to be Hyatt. Pretty sure he is there. Fine, emergency subbing in. Let me just take care of this real quick, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Let me just pop off real quick.
Let me just pop off on Yasuo bot lane.
All right, let's move on to the supports. Yeah. Brian Tsang, Mr. Brian Tsang, season 3 MVP versus HBK ProLupul. I did want to save this one for last, just because I feel like this might be a heavier discussion. I don't know. I played against Brian Tsang. He's really damn good. Never played against ProLupul. But last week he was literally terrorizing BBZ in that series. So, gentlemen, thoughts on this matchup?
My first thought is that it's going to be a weird match in that UB and HBK are both going to be trying to draft Galio, because Lupul loves to play Galio support. He has 2, 4. He's got 6 games in the last 10 that are all Galio's support, and he even brought it in the playoffs again. Other than that's Leona and Shen and a Rakan game. Like man loves his Galio, so I fully expect that to be a fighting point between these 2 teams overall. But just focused on the support matchup, I think these 2 are going to be a really big factor in getting their team going. They both play really heavy engaged supports. They play a lot of playmakers. I think like anything that's going to happen on this map, anything that's going to be like going on is going to be decided by these 2. They will make the plays. They will make the action happen. And I think a lot of this series is going to pivot on how they do.
Facts. Derekles, thoughts?
Sure. Yeah, I don't have as many thoughts, but I will start this by saying there's no way you're gonna throw me as a mid lane person here and then just do 10 seconds of being the support player here. So you can come back, and
you were that one support that one game in season 2. So yeah, support.
Listen, I was
also that one more
third place in season 2 MVP, even though I lost every one of those games. Oh, take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. You played more against us.
I did.
I remember that.
I also played it against Yuumi into Morgana's. Or no, it's not. They were Morgana.
Nautilus.
That's what I'm thinking of. That was the nightmare. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, what's it going? Oh yeah, support lane. I feel like I touched on it mainly in the AD carry discussion. I think it really depends on the movements of Brian Tsang and ProLupul. If they end up 2v1ing whoever the AD carry of HBK is, it's going to be very bad. And at the same time, I'm not sure if ProLupul is used to just staying and hanging out in lane as much. I don't think his picks, as Rapture kind of went over, really support that too much. So I hope we see something new out of ProLupul in preparation for that kind of style. But again, it would be a big switch up. So I hope he just has something up his sleeve, something in his back pocket that he's ready to show us. Maybe he can pull out the Yuumi. That would be interesting. Maybe give Spierce a little bit extra help. Huh?
Yeah. God, if Yuumi lost to a Yuumi pick, that'd be so poetic, man.
Write that down. Write that down.
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine Lupul playing Yuumi. It just doesn't fit his wheelhouse at all. The closest he's come to it is a Senna.
HBK, like that's the second pocket pick they've revealed on Lounge.
What's next? Like Yuumi support Hecarim AD carry? Like
man, Yuumi jungle.
How do they know?
It's like Tabe's just taking notes. Like so this is how I leak things.
Anti. What about you? Thoughts on the bot lane support?
This is actually a really interesting one because I don't think either team can pick Yuumi. Because like, no, it's not a question of whether or not they can play Yuumi properly. It's just that the styles of either support, they're both very good at forcing fights and going all in, which, works really well to counter Yuumi. And stuff like Galio, stuff like Nautilus, which, on both sides, both players play these things at a very strong level, right? ProLupul's Galio, Brian Tsang Nautilus still gives me nightmares, and I've never even played against it. And I feel like if you pick something passive like Yuumi, you're just unlocking the other support and letting them go across the entire map. So it's either both supports have to handshake to something passive or enchanter based, or both supports are just going to go for something completely bloody, and it's going to rely a lot more on the 2v2 rather than the 2v1. I think that if either support roams at even remotely close to a bad time, your AD carry's dead and it's just done, right? Like, if you get ahead, sure, but until you get to that point, I think it's very, very difficult to see either of these supports giving up lane pressure.
Yeah, and their playstyle, honestly, both of them remind me a lot of my own. They play a very similar champion pool to what I play. I play a lot of really heavy engaged supports at this elo, and I see a lot of myself in Brian. I see his aggressive style. It's something I like to do. So my big worry for him, because it's a word for myself, is getting over aggressive. We saw it a couple of times this season, especially when JeffGod was out, where he would get a little too aggressive in a play and it would cost him, and cost them lane pressure, or cost them movement on the map somewhere, maybe warding pressure. That's my biggest concern, is Brian being able, he's got Jeff back, so it should help a lot, but getting not too overhyped on his plays, because yes, Lupul does play a lot of engaged supports. He's playing a lot of Nas, play a lot of Galio. But the counter to that is they're also very good disengaged supports, especially Galio. Very easy to just taunt someone up or just knock them up and keep them away. You got to be careful, because if you make one wrong play, you're basically locked up, you're dead. So I'm gonna be watching for that a lot. On the side of Lupul, he does make a lot of plays, but I do notice sometimes he can be a little bit more passive than I would expect. So I'm going to be watching to see if he can still keep pressure up and not just give away too much of it from the aggression from Brian. He's got to be able to match. If he matches Brian's aggression, he'll catch it. But if he just kind of lets him push them in, it's going to be a lot harder for him to make those plays. It's going to be a lot harder for him to make the roam. It's going to be a lot harder to get things going for HBK. So kind of like opposite sides of the coin, even though they have similar play styles, they both have to look out for the opposite problem: too passive and too aggressive.
Yeah, I feel you. Okay, lads, any other final thoughts on supports before we wrap up the show? Nope, we got nothing.
Oh, I was
saying ain't shit. Sorry, what? Go on.
I've only seen Lupul pick it, the Rakan. I hope we see more of it. I love watching Rakan. I think Rakan is one of the most exciting supports to watch, just because of the flow he puts through a fight, being able to weave in and out of combat, and just keep plays going on the offensive and the defensive. So I'm hoping we see more of that this series. It's an engaged support that's a little bit harder to mess up, because you can't miss a hook, because you just jump into a big circle. But yeah. I would like to see more of it. I hope we don't see Yuumi. Like Anti said, there's a lot of engaged champions here. Not a good idea to pick Yuumi. Really easy to counter Yuumi, especially if they're picking Leona. Leona is like a super hard counter to Yuumi, in my opinion, in my experience. But I'm hoping we see some fun with the engagers. I hope we see some fun picks. Or Shen. Shen would be fun to watch and support too.
Sure.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that there's a lot of things that could be said about the support players individually, like in the 1v1 sort of aspect, like, which one puts out more pressure, which one does the better roams, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Right. But in the end, so much of this hinges on the 2v2 and getting initial priority in the lane. And I think that Yubi's bot lane, even with Jeff not playing for a while, has a lot more time practicing together and has a lot more synergy. So I don't know, regardless of whether or not ProLupul or Brian Tsang are the better support, I think that neither one is so many leagues ahead of the other that part itself is going to matter. I think the 2v2 is so much more instrumental, and I would give the 2v2 edge to UB. So we're probably going to see Brian Tsang being enabled to do a lot more.
Yeah, I think as long as Jeff doesn't get ganked by another Ford Fusion, that bot lane should be pretty good together. They should be fine. Their synergy should be fine.
It'd be so unlucky if Jeff got hit by a car mid-series. Like, that would be so tragic. Oh, man.
HBK hires a Ford Fusion.
I thought we already talked about not leaking strats.
There's the third one. There's the third one.
It's the Ford Fusion with the steel chair.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Let's close this down. Predictions, lads. 3-0, 3-1, 3-2. What do you guys think? Let's go with Anti, our guest for the night. What do you think? I said 3-2 Ara last time, just FYI.
Yeah, I saw. I was watching. Don't worry. Okay. So I will have to say, HBK, another team coming in from Mythic, going down to Heroic League. Not Heroic League per se, but you know what it is that I mean. And I respect that. I understand that feeling. I know the feeling of playing against incredibly strong players who you're going to learn a lot from, but at the same time you're going to lose. You're going to have quite a bit of time trying to find out where it is that you have to grow, and I respect that a lot. That being said, UB does have another Josh. So,
True.
I'm gonna have to say UB all the way. 3-0, Josh Gap.
Okay.
What if HBK has a Josh? I actually don't know any of their first names. What if there's a Josh on their team?
They haven't reviled it, and I'm just going off of the information that I know.
And you look this up.
In 100% honesty, I think that UB stylistically actually play very well into the way how HBlock likes to play. And while HBlock, the biggest thing HBlock have going for them is drafting against them is an absolute nightmare. But past that, I think that UB play so cohesively and so strongly that it's honestly hard to see HBlock taking it against them. Like maybe if they slip up a bit, or if Jeff's not playing on point. But I sincerely believe that UB are very, very, very strong, and I could definitely see it going for a 3-0.
There's incomplete data to support if there is another Josh. So I'm missing two names, but that's so far out.
Yeah. There's no Josh. No Josh on HBK.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet.
Perfect. Listen, I always want a 3-2 because it's just good for viewers. We just broke our viewing record.
I would love a 3-2.
So,
yeah. You see, Anti, your game 5 broke our viewer number. Yeah,
it was sick.
It was nice. Appreciate that.
So on top of that, I also think that if UB 3-0s, they're going to get bored and not come back, so we can't have that either.
Yeah,
you just haven't had them lose to Rex then.
Yeah,
true.
I don't know. It's so close. There's so many X factors.
Yeah,
but I think I want to see HBK get the 3 this time.
Hey, wait. So you're saying what? 3-0?
3-2.
Oh, 3-2. My bad.
No, it's a 3. Let's calm down.
Like it's so close. It's just gonna be a very close 3-0.
It's gonna be a nice 0-3 SKL.
Yeah.
SKL. Why are we looking at regular season records?
Oh, bro.
I'm down.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do you dirty like that, Ryan. You set it up so well. I also agree with him though. I think it's going to be 3-2, but I think it's going to be UB. Because one, I know UB has the power of wanting to beat Rex in the super finals, so they're going to try to push that really hard.
They really want that.
Yeah, they really do. That's why both Rex and UB have wanted all season. And I think that will push them over the edge in the end, but I think HBK will be able to take 2 games, keep it close. I think if something doesn't work in the first game, which I think they'll go to UB, I think the next game they're going to swap things up, not just in terms of the champions as usual, but also where everyone is going, and it's going to throw UB off, and I think they can maybe grab a game or 2 off of that. But I think UB's synergy overall will take them to the end.
Okay.
Yeah. And if they don't Rex said they're just gonna give their first place spot to RLS and go play Yubi in the second place match.
Let's go!
Let's go, HBK!
My script will be correct after all.
It's funny because HBK said that they wanted to play RLS in Super Finals just to have the mythic rematch. So
maybe
yeah.
HBK throws for it.
A mythic rematch.
Oh,
I'd be down.
Ooh.
I would be down. I'm spending so much time on Rivals, but I would be down. I would come back grinding League with a vengeance.
For that HBK rematch.
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah, it'll just see me come back and it'll just be like, why are there 20 Irelia games just straight up?
All right, let's wrap it up. I believe Ryan, I think you said 3-2 UB, I believe is what you said, right? Or HBK?
HBK.
3-2 HBK. Anti, you were saying UB. Reptile, you're saying UB. I agree with you, Ryan. 3-2 HBK. I think that's gonna be okay. That's what my script says here. So
yeah. It would certainly be interesting.
Yeah, my scripts have been wrong so far, though. So thanks for that, Anti. Nice game. My
bad. I tried. It be that way.
Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you guys watch Luna Grand Finals between Team H Block versus Universal Basic Income. Thank you guys so much for being on the show with me. Appreciate it, Raptera, Theracles, Anti. See you guys later. Have a good night. Peace.
Bye.